it's funny because like they say I'm really light. I'm like, well, that's because you're really light. And if I were to use more energy, you would end up
Die.
two
Yeah.
centimeters thin. So yeah.
Like half the time I can't even do leveraged things, or else Smiley just moves towards me.
Oh jeez.
I call those the creepers. Because it's like this. It's like
True story.
it's like you can't anchor. Not today. Like that's it.
Welcome to another zany episode of Nerdy West Coast Swing, where the anchors are out of this world and the points don't matter. I am Cassie Winter.
I am Alicia Marshall. If you are wondering who we are to be analyzing these pros and bringing them on to talk to us, we have a guest tonight. Cassie and I both have extensive training in both partner and solo dancing. She has about 21 years. I have about 23. That being said, we have Christopher Dumond with us tonight.
Hello.
And I'm very excited about that, as are we.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's going to be fun.
Our overarching topic is musicality, but anything is good to talk about. And at any time, if anybody who is here live has a burning question to ask, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. We're going to start off with a simple Q&A, and then we're going to move to a video, analyze it, and then move to another video. So, Alicia, you want to take it away?
Okay, so I guess our first question is, what is your dance history?
Oh, man. Back when I was a wee young lad. No, I'm just kidding. So I was dancing in my living room to watching Michael Jackson movies. And yes, movies, not music videos. You heard that correctly. And I would learn the dances because apparently the first time I ever actually saw the Smooth Criminal music video was actually in the movie Moonwalker. They actually wrote that music video into the script. It was interesting. Beside the point. So I started dancing because of watching a bunch of Michael Jackson movies and that sort of thing. And one thing led to another. Started dancing, doing ballet and hip hop. And then about 3 years down the road, I moved studios and started dancing at the Schwimmers dance studio. And was only really taking hip hop because the other studio kind of tricked me into saying that it's a requirement to take ballet, and I didn't really like being lied to. So I said, peace. And so I ended up coming there, had a little bit of convincing, and then I ended up taking my first West Coast class, and I absolutely loved it. And wanted to keep coming back. And then one thing led to another. It just kind of spiraled into me learning about pretty much everything under the sun. And then started doing routines back in 2008. And started traveling, like teaching and stuff when I was 18. And been to a lot of cool places, like, Estonia. That's a fun place.
Interesting.
Yeah. Side note, they have like the world's greatest beer. Just saying. It's like they make it in this like old medieval town that's been restored and has been kept up. It has like a giant wall. It's very beautiful. But anyways, I've been to lots of cool places. I enjoy dancing, and that's Chris history like in 2 minutes.
Awesome.
Well summarized. We also know like you also have an in-depth like musical training background. So can you give us a little bit? Oh, too long didn't read of that as well.
Yeah. I'll give you the 2-minute Chris history version of that. Basically, my dad was seeing me play Guitar Hero, and I was playing Guitar Hero a lot. I was just like that kid that was just like, and he's like, you should play the real thing, because I think it's a little bit cooler than playing Guitar Hero in your socks. just going, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, okay. So I went up and I picked up a guitar and started teaching myself how to play. And slowly but surely, like I started acquiring more and more guitars and learning a little bit more about music theory and that sort of stuff. But what really kind of accelerated my knowledge was actually going to school for audio production, because I'm currently just rounding and got a year to go of school, and just been taking a bunch of different music classes and now certified in Pro Tools. Just kind of a bunch of, and if you don't know what Pro Tools is, it's the industry standard when it comes to audio stuff. So yeah, just kind of self-taught for about 6 to 8 years, something like that. Mainly guitar. And favorite guitar thus far. Actually, I have it right next to me. Here.
Convenient.
This is my personal
I'm sorry, I'm a
favorite.
gear nerd, and I'm an engineer too. So, ooh.
Yeah, it's a Schecter, and it's the C1 Platinum series. I really enjoy that one. So, but yeah, I just kind of self-taught, and then schooling has really only been my formal training, to put it that way. And that's been in the past year.
Awesome. So the next question that we have is, how has your relationship with musicality changed? And if so, like, how has it changed since like being a junior and whatnot, since that's what we are looking at tonight?
Yeah. So musicality within it itself kind of just more or less came naturally. Like I feel like whenever when we're teaching or taking classes, you have the kind of, you're either the person that listens and can hear the break, or you're the person that counts and then knows where the break is, kind of thing. And there's one or the other, more or less. And I was definitely more of the feeling type of person. And I never really understood. I just kind of was like, oh yeah, like I hear that. And people are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you know, like the car horn in California, girls, like, you know, the Jeep, like when they go Jeep, beep, beep, like, oh, just me. Okay, I get it. All right, I understand now. But basically it evolved from just kind of like, okay, to then now I understand more of like the whys, the hows, kind of the inner workings of things. Whereas before I was just kind of like naive to what I could hear and what made musicality kind of thing. So I like knowing now. Let's just, let's just say that.
Cool to have that knowledge.
Yeah. So do you now also roadmap dances in a specific way? Or do you still dance more or less intuitively?
It's still more like action reaction. Like I usually like being on the reaction side. I've been trying to, because planning has never been a strong suit of mine in dances. And just because I always like just kind of the spontaneousness of it. And I'm also really nice. So I'm like, don't you want the break? Here, you take it. Right.
I
But
feel that so hard.
but then I'm like, okay, no, like if I set them up, or I set myself up, I start having more of a strategy versus an actual plan. And that's something that I like to say more than like, oh, like I plan this, or I roadmap this. It's like, no, I have a generalized strategy. Like we're going to do, I'm really feeling like circular movements. So I'm going to try and make that happen and be sure-footed in making that happen, and be able to adapt and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to fetch the link to our first video that we're going to be talking about. It's Chris's dance with Lisa Picard from Rose City Swing 2020.
Yes.
All right. It has now become canon Chris, but I do this horrible thing, and Alicia likes it, so I have to keep doing it. To the screen share. As we're going, feel free to narrate as much as you want, and if there's anything you want me to like bookmark and we can go back and go through over and over again, let me know. Or if there's anything particular you want me to draw or highlight on the screen, I can also do that.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good.
As we're getting started, I know you said that you and Lisa didn't know this song.
Yes.
So can I ask you a question then? How did you deal with that?
More or less, you just have to go with what repeats and kind of go off of your knowledge of other songs that have been made, more or less. Like when you have a song that you've never heard before, you kind of have to see what type of phrasing they have, what type of songwriting structure they have. And the thing is like, I'm not thinking about all of this,
Right.
at the same time, but I'm literally just thinking, I'm like, okay, this note repeats every 8 counts. This note or this clap happens after every phrase or something like that. That's more or less what I'm trying to go off of. And the thing is too, is I try to also hit things in a little bit more of a vague way. And by that, I mean, it's like, if I believe that something may be staccato or maybe more of a legato movement, that's when I'll like kind of do like a little vague thing. And then if it ends up being like a harder hit, I try and sort form that as quickly as I can, and react to that hit or something. So, oh yeah, look at that cowboy stance. Woo! Sorry. That's a good pointed foot though. That was good.
Yes.
It's nice.
It is. Actually, because we've framed through 2 or 3 videos of you before, and that's something that I really appreciate is your lines.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I had a lot of difficulty with lines in my like first 3-4 years of dancing, so I appreciate that.
So one of the things I love about this dance is the time you both take to like get on the same page with the song.
Yeah.
Like you're not rushing to make anything happen at the beginning.
Absolutely. Like that's something that I always try to do, because I mean the joking answer would literally be like, well, if you just stand there and kind of sway for about 30 seconds, that's 30 seconds you have to that you have to create and actually come up with some stuff. But in reality, it's just kind of, I always, this is back when like Nicole and I were teaching and traveling together, we would always call it make an intro to your dance, like have some sort of intro. And that could be an 8-count intro, or that could be a 32-count intro. Like have it where you sort of ease yourself into that dance and have that time. When it's social dancing, it's usually the first 30 seconds you sort of hear the song and you're going to ask the person to dance. With this, you're standing out there and you're trying to feel out what the song has for you. Yeah, I mean, it's slightly different if you know the song, but it's just, it's kind of, you might have been sitting on the chairs for the past, 25 minutes and you're a little cold. So it's like, let's feel things out kind of thing. So, yeah.
One thing I noticed about like the very beginning here is that neither of you are trying to hit anything little yet. You're just going with like what's going to be a very obvious hit of some sort.
Yeah. And I think that's like, we're still in the mode of, okay, let's what does this song have to offer? Like this is one layer. This is effectively like one section of the song. Where is it going to go? And that sort of thing. And so it's just kind of like dancing through more or less interesting shapes and having a little bit more vague musicality and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
That wasn't bad. So if you just stop it right here, so that movement, if you go before the head thing, so I was watching video of me dancing actually, and something that I did before that I think people should notice is that it's very quick, but I actually waited until Lisa was stopped and then I went over her head. Whereas in the past, I have not waited. I've gone before they actually finished settling on that foot. So that's something that, like, even if it looks when it's like back up to speed, like I'm moving at the same time, in reality, you have to wait. And then as soon as that weight hits, then you can go and move and go over that to have a movement or some sort of move like that happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because that's like a really important detail, because to suddenly come into the follow space before they're settled can be really disorienting and even dangerous at times.
Depending
Absolutely.
on what you're going next.
Yeah. And one of the things that, like, I really appreciate about your dancing, Chris, is how balanced you are between taking your own, like, traveling movement versus letting the follow do the traveling. It never feels like you or your partner is necessarily dominating the dance with all the traveling. You balance that really well in your partnerships.
Thank you. That's something that I try to focus on. And I truly believe that, like, this is a 50-50 dance, like, and in order to have the most dynamic, like, if one person is stuck doing one role or one job, air quotes, like that creates a little bit of a boring dance. Like, it doesn't have a lot of moving pieces or as many moving pieces as it could have. And I really enjoy moving. Like, that's something that I like doing. And yes, Boutte, and Lisa's face to accentuate all of that. That is brilliant.
My face is fabulous.
I love it. I am all for it. I'm all for, like, and this is something that I've had to have a balance with, and, like, kind of like cousins to, like, balancing that traveling is balancing the quirky versus the serious. And I feel like that's a hard balance that a lot of people in their dance struggle with, myself included, of, like, what is too quirky, what is too far as the joke. When do we get away from actually dancing with each other? And I feel like having moments like when Lisa just did that is, like, it's really nice. It shows that we're having a good time and we're laughing with each other, and it's a little more real that way. It's less pressure, you know, just kind of like I feel like moments like those are really nice, and especially when it's in a traveling, it's like within the pattern. I feel like a lot of times when people do comedy or do some sort of miming to a lyric or something, you usually get into a space where it's at the end of the slot and everything, the movement has stopped, and then you do the joke and then you resettle and then continue dancing. But having it where it's within the actual dance itself is always a fun little tidbit.
Yeah.
The good old telemark. It's like
love me
it's
some
my
telemarks.
go-to. It's like, all right, phrase change. Guess what? I'm going to telemark.
What were talking about telemarks last week, were we? I don't know. It all blends together.
We did a little bit, and we joked about we need to do an entire episode on telemarks because they're so fun.
Yep.
Is there a favorite detail about the technique behind leading a telemark that you wish more people understood?
Oh, the technique. Man. I think the fact that it's more of I go, you go than people realize. It's less it's less circular than I think people realize, even though it looks that way. Like Lisa's passing by, and then I use that shoulder blade to then propel me around. So like my hand on Lisa's shoulder blade is actually what I'm using to help me go around. So like I'm trying to keep her close so that way that energy helps me propel me around to then get to the side. And then this is when I open up to then have more tension. And then so it's all kind of this momentum juggling and manipulating where that momentum goes. And I find that a lot of times when I have a follower that might be new to the movement or something like that, sometimes I experience when they don't rotate fully into that hand to then where I can then utilize that to then get myself around. It then turns into me having to really, really push off of my legs to then hopefully get another reconnection when we're, asking for this tension right here to then go into the next movement. So I would say probably the biggest thing is that it's more linear than people expect, and really, really utilize that shoulder blade and that connection on the back to power you through. I also really enjoyed this move. I ended up doing it twice in the dance, but it was fun. Just having the little head duck.
Very well done. Very nice lines with it.
Yeah. And I love how you prep for it with your free leg.
Yeah. I just like something that, I really enjoy where the dance has gone and how it's not as gendered and it's not as role specific anymore. And something that I really enjoyed in my younger years back when it wasn't as that is, I'm like, they're like, followers only spin kind of thing. And I'm like, what? That's no. I'm like only followers can look pretty. I'm like, hey, I can look pretty too. Okay. So it's like, I really enjoy whenever I can to be able to spin or rotate myself in a way that a leader doesn't have the options to, because I feel like followers usually spin naturally just because of the pattern structure and how we've structured our patterns as a dance. And yes, Jason Calacino is special. And I feel like, being able to have those opportunities and when they come up to capitalize on them and really utilize a moment to be able to rotate, I usually take it.
Can we go back to that real fast? I want to look at the balance point with it.
To his right before his duck. Yeah. My computer's having small seizures. It's okay.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, I just wanted to look at that. It's interesting the way that you're bringing your leg across.
What are you seeing? I'm very curious. No, I'm genuinely curious.
No, so basically what I was looking at, because of like the height of your foot, and then it's a little bit further out from you. I was just looking to see how you were counterbalancing it a little bit.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So like it's like the foot and the head are kind of.
Yeah. So the head is going to the right as the foot is crossing over on the left.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about that while I was doing. No, but like that's awesome. I definitely wouldn't have noticed that. I'm really happy that you pointed that out because that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't notice when it comes to kind of off balance, or like whenever people do duck turns or that sort of thing, is like noticing where they're counterbalancing, where they're hinging, where they're utilizing that balance point to make sure that they don't fall off.
Yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to note was it's really important that that happened because of that leg swinging out around right before it, because it's giving some extra momentum. So it really needs to be counterbalanced as it's brought through.
I didn't know that my leg got that high.
That's exactly why I wanted to look at it.
Right.
Yeah, you can see how like as you're bending your right leg, your hips are rotating to the left and you're leaving your shoulders rotated to the right to slow that momentum.
And also make a more dramatic head swing.
Yes.
Yes.
Because like if you had just made that whole thing just powerful the whole way through, like volume 10 the whole way, it wouldn't have had the same impact.
Yeah, that's actually something that I think in passing, I can't remember, where Cordoba was teaching a workshop, and it was like utilizing the head to cause impact. So basically, if you delay the head just ever so slightly, it then like causes a little bit bigger of an impact. Because just having that head whip around at the last second causes like shows so much acceleration, whereas if it sort of went with the shoulders, it wouldn't be the same. So I ended up translating that sort of idea to the shoulders, of like leaving those back to the last second to then whip the head through to show how that acceleration happens. And that's something that like I saw that, and I always stuck with that because it's so true. Like if you do the same movement, do like a super simple movement where you do maybe a half turn and stop on a dime. If you delay the head or delay anything, and then like face or hit that pose that you want, it's night and day as far as the impact.
Yeah. Well, and I think that a lot of times it makes it more musically appropriate. Like it adds kind of more of a pulse to it that matches the music.
Yeah, because it has its own like strike and dissipation.
Yeah.
When you prep it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to take a quick peek at Lisa for a second because she does an over rotation and drags in right before this, I believe.
Oh, right before this?
Yeah, she does some cool footwork. Yeah, she goes.
So
yeah.
I wanted to look at it because of the way that she rotates the feet to the side and then draws in with that front heel. As she brings that back foot in, she's like not necessarily just bringing it in. It's dragging like the top part along the floor, which is a nice little addition for styling.
Oh yeah. And I really love when dancers utilize the like turn in to turn out. And also like something that most people don't notice, if you could go back like 2 or 3 frames, it's to Lisa's foot. It's when it's beveled, and people don't usually do that. It's right. Go a little bit further forward. A little bit further. A little bit further. A little bit more. A right there.
All right.
So, basically, what she's doing is she's really accentuating. This is something that like they teach you in ballet is like you really want to push the ankles forward to where it looks like it's winging out, and that's something that she does there. It's not just turnout, like she's going that extra mile to where it's not that the foot is in line with the leg. The foot is now its own entity kind of thing, and it's broken the angle of the leg, and it just showcases the foot that much more than if it was just a standard turnout. And I really appreciate that fine detail in that moment, and I just wanted to address that because most people don't see that, like
Right.
that, because that's hard work. Like it's such hard work because your ankles don't go that way. Like like that's why ballet is so painful, is because
Yeah.
you're basically going against everything that your body was made for.
Yeah. And then I also want to highlight, because I know this is something that in my past I have noticed not paying enough attention to, is which basically femur is doing the majority of the turnout. Because sometimes someone might look at this moment and think her left femur is the one doing all of the turnout. But her right one, even though it might look like it's in parallel right now, it's not. Her right foot is also in turnout. So like both feet are taking part in that shape. And you
Yeah.
can see that through her hips rotating to the left here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good.
I love Lisa. I do that so often where I lean and I take my entire torso with me for that sugar push. It's I don't know why, but I just do it all the time. It's like a subtle thing, but
Uh-huh.
I just I found myself with critiquing myself for the, I don't know, past few months through dance videos. I've noticed that that's a habit that I do where I just lean over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But this type of pattern I really enjoy, which is going basically from a sugar push to then I shift out, but I utilize the it's, I think it's called like a Jacob's ladder or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's kind of like this push pull situation. I really, just the feeling of that pattern is just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's cowboy stance again.
Lisa's face is really great right there.
So good. Right here in particular. So good.
I love it because I love genuine people and genuine likeness,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like on and off she is very genuine,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. And I think this was right before a phrase change too, that we didn't know was coming.
Yeah, I think this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I'm like, so was this phrase change just how it looks like you just ended up in this position? You're like, okay, this is my life now. I guess this is what we're doing for this phrase change.
Yeah, and actually this is the picture. This is, you know, the picture that's the cover photo for this event.
Yes.
This is the moment, was this right here, where like we went when we're going out and in, and then we shrug and both look at each other and like, this is what's happening. Like that's the moment of just like we're just rocking back and forth. Yeah. 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 It's this next one. It's like, okay, oh, we're doing this. And then now we're gonna do the Hmm?
That's great.
So good. And then what did you yell right afterwards? I couldn't quite make it out in the video.
Still don't know. I still don't know. Maybe like I planned that. Let me see if I can. I planned that?
It's like so much better in slow motion.
I can't. Oh, not my best side. That would make sense.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Comment right there.
Beautiful.
Man.
There was a spotlight you did at Swingcouver a few years ago. You drew Tatiana, and it was during the invitational where I think you got like an emotion to emote. And
Ugly.
I don't think it exists on YouTube, but it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go, because
I have asked for that video because it was one of my favorite moments ever, and I can't find it. I've been asking. I'm like, I loved that dance, and it was so polarizing because, this is dope.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
we'll back up. Keep storytelling.
All right. No, so really, basically, really quickly is beforehand they were like, okay, we're judging on dancing and how the quality of the dance and their technique and everything, and then they gave me the emotion of ugly. So I dance pigeon-toed, hunchbacked, and just like with my face all contorted, and same with Tot. And we just make a joke of the entire dance. There was 3 people that gave us first and 4 people that gave us last. So guess what? We ended up last in that contest because of it. But it's like the judges meeting before that. It's like, yeah, so make sure that we're judging on dancing. And then they gave me ugly. I'm like, well,
what you gonna do?
This is what happens now. But I wish and I hope, and when that video comes around, it will be on YouTube and I will be sharing it.
Yay. Yeah. I've always wondered, because it was so phenomenal.
So let's look at this for a second.
Yes, let's.
So I think the first thing that I wanted to point out is how early you're reaching towards her.
So that's one. I'm already starting to move. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, timing wise, that's not as important, but the main reason I pointed that out is because for Lisa, it's a good visual signal that something different is going to happen.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I always try my best to be as telegraphing as possible when it comes to stuff that's out of the norm. So yeah, like that's absolutely. It's just it's always more comfortable. Like whenever you're following, like when I've been following, or like just knowing what's going on is always better. It's just like anything, even outside of dance. Like being in a situation where you don't know what's going on is pretty uncomfortable.
Right.
So the more you know, the better.
So Lisa puts a lot of energy into this. she like kind of takes a hop step.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she does.
I can't remember what this was in the music.
I think it says, "What should I do?"
Uh,
So to me, it looks like you really only have that one arm to support.
yeah.
One thing that I want to highlight. Oh, you go first.
I was going to say, but Lisa also has her hand on your like elbow-ish area, so it's not just one point of contact. Makes more
Yeah.
sense.
And also something that I try to do as well is you can't really see it, but I hang on to the hand
Mhm.
all the way through
Oh, yeah.
until basically right there. You can't really see it, but until I have a firm grasp of the next connection point, I don't let go of the hand.
Well, that's a great detail. And then what I really love is how you arc the hand once you've got her upper arm. You continue an upward arc first before moving it downward.
Yeah.
And it becomes really easy in slow motion to see how your hand is going up and arcing in this great big circle before it goes down.
Would be an appropriate use of ghosting.
It would, shall we?
Ghosting.
Ghosting. The
I'm
power.
excited.
The power of ghosting. Okay. First, I have to make them all. We'll go 2 frames. We'll go on 2s. We'll be old school cartoon. Old school. I know. Oh man, are you a fan of Into the Spider-Verse, Chris?
Yes.
Oh man, that move, because I trained in 3D character animation, so like I have an eye to notice things on a frame by frame level. And when they animate on 2s for some characters in that film and on like 1s for the rest of them, it has like this strobe light effect for me and it makes me sick and it just sucks because it's such a good movie.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate the that's an interesting question.
Aaron asked, which ones did they animate on 2s?
Oh man, because I don't remember the names because there are so many Spider-Mans. So the main character, until he really learns how to use his Spidey powers, he's on 2s.
Mm-hmm.
So in the towards, I don't know, the 3/4 mark of the film ish. I've only seen it once because again it like made me so sick, which sucks. But when they're escaping the lab or whatever, and him and his mentor Spider-Man are like swinging through the trees with whatever item that they got out of the lab.
Yeah.
They're out of sync for the first half of that sequence, and then finally the main character learns the rhythm of that swinging and then is on 1s with the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, multiple things that happened in the chat. Robert said that movie's so cool on a technical level. They did it for specific scenes. Aaron said no in a very aggressive way. Chris, what does animate on 2s mean? I've never heard someone say it that way.
Oh, okay. So animating on 2s. So, oh man, I feel dust coming out of my brain right now. When was the last time I had to talk about this? History of animation. Welcome. So, well, okay. History of film. So originally we had 16 frames per second on film for the motion pictures. And then when they upgraded to 24, like that's a lot of frames to hand draw. So they actually drew they drew half that. So they did 12 frames, but each frame was held for a second one. So it was like the exact same picture, 2 frames in a row, and then they'd move to the next picture, 2 frames in a row. So that's what on 2s means. And same thing here. I didn't want to draw a circle over every single frame. So I skipped every 2. Oh, yay, my internet connection is unstable. But now we can see the lovely ghosting and see how the path is arcing.
Yeah. And something that I always try to do whenever it's having to go over someone's head is I make the biggest window. It doesn't matter how short, how tall you are. I really, really try and make the biggest window.
Bless your soul, sir. Bless your soul.
And the thing is too, is like something that you might notice as well is some people just twist the arm and just have it where it's the arm. I'm actually twisting my rib cage as well to arc to get more height on my arm as well. So that's something that is another small detail if we're doing this ghosting frame stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and like coming out of that is also something that's going to add more energy, more momentum to that.
I always get dizzy whenever I come up from stuff like that. Like what Lisa's doing. Whenever you have your head back, like I really like it's like I'm like I get so disoriented just from doing that.
Yeah, if you're not used to like all of that, it's like your inner ear just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
No.
Which like actually when I watched this the first time, I was surprised that Lisa did drop her head back because of the amount of energy that she had, but she is counterbalancing it really well with the amount of lift that she has in her hips.
Yeah, she's really, really pushing there.
And also looks like you're still really supporting her really well. So she feels that extra stability, and that's probably what allowed her to feel safe enough to allow her head to stretch back.
Yeah. Dope, dope, dope.
All right, what's next?
A scoot, apparently.
Very technical.
Yes.
Scoot.
Learn them in West Coast Swing Level 4.
You went too far, Chris.
Come back.
I like moments like those.
Oh, it was so good.
Because like that, I feel like when you have something like that where it's just like that sort of dynamic of like the moving in and moving out that is not necessarily, part of the basics of West Coast, where it kind of like has this stalling moments there. I always just find it like so much fun, and it doesn't matter what genre of music it is. I really enjoy like standing still.
Yeah, I have very strong feelings about that. When people do too much, I call it dance vomit.
Yeah.
Cowboy, there it is again.
It's back.
I really need to
insert tumbleweed.
Yeah, I really need to work on that.
Tumbleweed.
I just love the story. Like, tumbleweeds don't exist in nature. Like, so every time you see a tumbleweed in an old movie, there's somebody off screen who had to shove it into the frame.
So
yeah. Maybe someday we'll have a Rose City Western. Who knows? I've got 5 million ideas.
I can do a Southern accent, so we're golden.
Good to know.
Ooh, can we rewind that right there?
Yeah. Do you want to? Sorry. All right, we'll go from this anchor.
Oh, the slot change. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we like those.
Look at that change, but then I also wanted to note where the connection is coming from, because it is not necessarily from that front hand.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh man, the number of times I've had like a fist jabbed into my liver.
Oh God.
Forearm on the back, ribs, people.
Yeah, like if you stopped it right there, like it just doesn't make sense. Like, like my arm is back. There's no way for me to lean away from it to utilize my body weight to assist with that. The arm that I have extended is also connected directly where Lisa's settling. Like,
Yeah.
my left hand is on her waist and she is pressing back into her right foot. That's where the connection should be, because she's pushing her weight on that side of her body. The weight is not on her left side of her body, it's on the right side. So I do not understand. I don't understand. I don't get it. I'm like, it makes no sense.
It's yeah.
I think that moment's a really good example of like redirecting that energy that she's using to settle.
Yeah, it's think of it as, at least if how I'm breaking it down is like, I'm thinking of it as like the four of a whip. Very similar to that. And all I do is I go across the slot just a little bit more than usual. And then it causes a change in slot, because now I'm at the diagonal. And then we continue, and I then basically try and go back a little bit more. So that way we're more or less in line with each other. I'm still in front a little bit. So that way I can then give her that press forward to then shoot out towards the audience.
So connection moment for that rap, I wanted to point out that she's very much kind of not rebounding, but coming off of your arm.
Yeah, absolutely. I always really like the forearm on the lower back.
Yeah.
On that moment. And I usually try my best to have it where I like sort of overextend my shoulder a little bit.
That's what I was gonna say next.
To like get that feeling and that press forward, versus kind of like trying to push my forearm in front of me. I try to overextend that, so that way there really is nowhere else to go as far as my arm is concerned. It can't go further back. So then I just literally just shift my weight forward to my left, and that's all you need.
Yeah, and you're like creating this lovely like pocket in your right shoulder and right elbow for her to roll into. So like bird's eye view, your head, her head. I don't know why her head is an oval. I can't think. Anyways, but you're creating this like arc right here that she fits into, instead of like having a arm that's straight, that's like shoving her forward. You have this pocket that she's falling into, and it just makes that kind of lead so comfortable to follow. And I wish more people were aware of that.
Well, I feel like that also gives you a lot more opportunity to lead with the body.
Yes.
Yeah. And I flow through.
And let's talk about that for a second. Just looking at like kind of where you're catching her, and that you're kind of helping a little bit, like with the direction she's moving.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I'm not like shoving. It's more like whenever I try and do stuff like that, I always try my best to say like, hey, look, I have my hand on you, the simplest way to, the follower's role is basically find connection, more or less. I think it's both of our jobs, but that's beside the point.
Right.
Is that like she's trying to find connection. My hand is now on her back, so she needs to feel that connection at the very least, even if it's just that split second, in order to feel comfortable to then go on to the next thing. It's because of the type of movement that I have to say, like, hey, I'm here. I know that I asked for this, and we're continuing through it.
Right.
So that's why that hand, like, very ever so slightly, and I lean to my left in order to make that happen. So it's less of a, hey, you need more assistance to travel. I always view it as more of like a comfort thing.
Yeah, I know. I always tend to get a lot of energy out of those from my leads, and I usually don't need more.
You don't. I mean, this is something that we like discussed a little bit, like very briefly before people join, but it's like you just like you don't need as much as you think you need. You really don't.
Yeah. And I mean, she's already in movement, like she's already rotating. So just adding more information to that makes it harder for her to stay in control. And also because you can see that she gets into that like arc with her back, that's going to make it harder for her as well. So if you were to like send her out a lot, like with a lot of extra energy, she would feel very unbalanced.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then I really super subtle note, but the way you release the prep, I appreciate so much because she's prepped here and you release it by moving your handhold to the rail, like laterally, instead of either towards yourself or towards her. And that allows her to really get up over her left foot comfortably. And then you just let go at that point. And that's what leaves her on that side of that end of the slot for you to catch her waist. And it's just one of those little tiny details that makes all the difference.
Right.
Absolutely. Get it, Lisa.
Yeah.
Groove it out. Groove it out.
It's very sudden camera change.
Still, get it, Lisa.
Can you rewind
that? Before or after the camera change?
After.
Okay, cool. I'm like, right here. Okay.
So I just kind of wanted to look to see where Lisa's at. So because this right here is more of like a recovery step, and it's because she has so much energy from that head that she whips plus the foot. Right, so she has that left foot whipping around as well as a really drastic head swing. That's giving her a lot of rotational energy. And so right here, she's kind of more catching herself because that's a lot of energy rather than like really intentionally stepping back and right there.
Yeah, it honestly ended up working out perfectly because I was already stepping that direction, and then now it just looks like a superly planned step to the side because like I'm already committed, and then she steps out with me, and then we both slide in, and we're like, yeah, that's what's up. Oh man.
Trying to think if there's anything else.
I think I just have another like mindset question because we're at the point where like about 3/4 of the way through a spotlight. And do you find yourself just kind of like continuing to intuitively, strategically move through it, or does anything new come into your mind that is like a game plan to bring the spotlight home, as it were?
Uh, pretty much, I just dance until it starts fading.
Okay.
Like that's my whole thing. Like, um, very much so. Like if I'm thinking about many things at once, I usually don't end up doing any of them. So,
Mhm.
um, I just try my main thing in a spotlight is let's make some moments happen. Let's have a good time, and we're in this together. Like that's basically the three main things
Yeah.
of that I'm thinking about of like what can I do to help facilitate things. You know, is that person having an off day? Am I having an off day? Like, what are all these factors? And
Mhm.
do I know the song? Do I not know the song? And you know, that's basically just dance. Like
Right.
I'll try to dance with you. You try to take care of me. I'll try to take care of you.
Hmm.
We'll meet each other halfway, and then once that music fades, you know, that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's that's what I try to do, and I found that, you know, over the course of me doing West Coast for um gosh, over 13 years now, like just having the stress of like, okay, I have to do this, or I have to bring it home, or I have to,
Right.
you know, have some sort of finishing deal. It always, you know, it's kind of like if you go in with no expectations, you always come out on the other side happy.
Mhm.
It's very similar to how I approach like my dances. It's like, hey, let's go have a good time and have
Mhm.
no expectation of what's going to happen and just try my best.
Can we go back a little bit?
Yeah.
This right here is what I wanted to look at. I just wanted to look at like the momentum for it because it's dissipating as you're kind of sitting her behind your back. Right, because this right here is, it doesn't have a ton of momentum, like just right when you have your hand back behind you.
Mm-hmm.
But like the way that you go into this next part, it's kind of like prepping it and starting it up again.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was important for it to dissipate a little bit so that she knew to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and two is like, it's also transitioning, but from having a linear sort of action and movement to now going into a circular where she's going to be
Yeah.
spinning and we're spinning around each other.
Mm-hmm.
So having that kind of like that sense of like, okay, we're going to stop traveling and stop that, and then sort of mold that to then make this circular pattern happen out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because that kind of restarting of the energy is from that arc that you do as you bring your hand around, unwind it, whatever.
Yeah.
What I mean. Right here.
All right. Do we want to move on to the other video?
So,
All right.
I am down.
Sweet. All right. Let me
I'm
go
down
find
to
the.
clown.
All right. So this is Chris and Chantelle from the US Open. Their amazing classic routine. Go ahead and give it a watch. Let us know when you're done. Try to watch it only once instead of 5 times like I did today.
yeah, this routine was definitely one of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah. So like while you guys were watching it, basically like there was two factors of like sort of kind of making that routine happen. One fun fact that has been said before, but I'll say it here is we actually chose the song the night before we were getting choreo. Like we had no plans. We had a few songs like to choose from, but we ended up going with that one about like 6 hours before we were getting choreo from Benji. Um, and then also like we really enjoyed it because Chantelle really wanted to break out of the sort of mold that she feels
Yeah.
she's in because she is a professional ballerina,
Right.
and she wanted to break out of that and sort of showcase what she can do outside of that as well.
Mhm.
And I just wanted an excuse to wear makeup.
So I remember before the open, you put a post on Facebook about your experience upping the swing content of your routine and how positive that was. And I'd love for you to elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like more or less in short, probably not so short, but um, I it made me think differently. Like I feel like whenever you're doing a character piece or you're doing a piece that has a story, which are two things that I really, really enjoy doing, and I think that's something that um, I think routines should utilize a lot more
Same.
because
Yes, agreed.
it's one of the only times that as dancers in this community we were able to tell a story. We're able to put on a face and not just kind of social dance and have a good time. You
Mhm.
know, so leaning into that, you kind of can lose a sense of other things, other fundamental things in the dance. Like there are so many times if you've done routines or if you experienced routines, doesn't have to be West Coast, but where you've been practicing for 4 hours and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you mean I'm supposed to lead this pattern? Oh, right. That's what's gonna fix it. Cool. That's what fixes the pattern. It's very reminiscent of that. Like that's sort of sums my, you know, adding swing content to the routine was it sort of forced me to think that way and um, kind of have the character within patterns or within these sort of things. And we still got a swing content violation, but everyone did. So uh, I think there was like maybe 2 or 3 classic couples in the finals that didn't get one.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but everyone, I think, at the very least, got a swing content warning. But like I think our in tally, I was able to get the tally, and it was I think 71%, and we had to have 75.
Oh, wow.
So because anything below 75, that's when you get dinged and dropped a placement. But anything between 75 and 80 was actually a swing content warning. So yeah, it was a positive thing because it made me think of things differently and really made me um, you know utilize the connection and make the connection happen within these character moments versus kind of like, okay, we're going to do this character moment and then we're going to do swing. It's very similar to um, like the comedic moments, like I was saying before, is you can have comedy within the patterns that is kind of subtle and fun and part of the dance, or you can stop the dance in its entirety and be a comedian for about 2 counts and then try and dance again. Like it's a lot better to sort of blend everything together, and that's kind of what I just wanted to come across because I feel like routine dancers always utilize and talk about swing content and like how it's so bad and all this stuff, and I'm like, but that's the dance.
Exactly.
Like swing content is swing. That's what it is. um so I think of course the argument is like what is swing content, and that can be argued till the day I die and probably till more generations of myself and my domestic partner, have to come. But it's like, it's just it it is what it is. Like, people are going to argue about art. They will. It's just it's part of the game,
Right.
But that's that. That's that.
Yeah. Did you guys make those adjustments yourself, or did you have some help with it?
We made the adjustments ourselves. We got the skeleton from Benji, and working with him. He's helped me with every routine but one. And yeah, it's from basically 2013 on, it's become a collaborative effort, and I really, really enjoy that, where it's more of like, how can we enhance what you do? And it's less of like, here's my choreo and this is Benji choreo. Like, it becomes a little bit more collaborative, and that's what happened. And then we ended up just sort of sitting down and like, okay, does this moment like read, and I'll have to see about, maybe making a point to put the debut and then the open versions side by side, so that way you can see all the changes, see the things that made it go from effectively, I think it was 49% or 50% at Boogie to then 71% at the open. So it's a big jump.
Yeah.
Big jump.
To the screen share.
Like Wayne's
So
World.
much better.
It's like, all right, this is the fourth alternate ending of that movie.
Since it's close to 8:30, is there a particular section that you would really enjoy framing through?
I would love to actually ask you that.
Oh,
Is there a
geez.
specific section that either one of you would love to look at? Because I mean, I've analyzed hours and hours upon hours, so
Right.
I would really love to get your take on what you would want to
man,
be
that
analyzed,
stuff.
or the behind the scenes or something.
Yeah.
I think actually that section with like the leg swing around of Chantelle's.
Oh, yeah.
That chokes me out.
I believe I bookmarked that one. It's not this one, is it? No, this is the one where.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
came up with this? For like, because I love this moment so much. Who?
That was 100% Benji.
Benji. It's fabulous.
Yep. And look at this. Like, we're just both staring at the audience, watching our swing content go away. Slowly, second by second, our swing content percentage keeps going down. But yeah, that was all Benji on that moment.
Is the kicking further on? Yeah.
Kate said
this one. Yeah.
Kate said, I'd like to see the squat and leg hold in the next few patterns.
That's, I think, this squat right here.
Yeah. Bam.
Yep.
Oh, so well counterbalanced.
And the thing that's amazing is like there are a good 6 frames that I'm just blasting through, and you might think my computer isn't moving, but no, you guys just have this moment down, and it's great.
Solid.
Yep. I'm like, yay, you're a pretzel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this was tough to just like get the spacing down right, because she's on one foot, so I have to calculate how, like, the distance, and make sure that I'm not pulling her off, because she stays on one foot basically this entire time. The only time, because it goes from here to where then she wraps around my neck with her leg, she does a little like trick of the trade, which is she actually puts the foot down, but you can't really see that because I go over the head, and then she ends up putting the foot down, and then she ends up wrapping her leg around, because originally we were having it where she stayed on that leg the entire time on that one
Oh
foot,
wow.
and then she would choke me out right here. But now it's like we were just like, there's just so many variables that's just not possible to have happen.
Yeah.
So we tried with the speed of it, hoping that, you know, your eyes were distracted elsewhere, so that way it really still had that
Mhm.
same impact of like, wow, one leg and then to one leg again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I think the first time she did that, she almost like actually choked me out.
I was gonna say, like, what was the most extreme gaffe in practice from this routine?
Actually a move that we changed that you don't see. Like there's a moment where you know, if we ever get around to performing this again, where we changed a moment where basically she does a trust fall and I catch her like 3 inches from the ground while I'm
Oh wow.
spinning, and while she's falling, I'm spinning around.
Oof.
So that has been the most taxing, because like I always like, I really don't want people to get hurt, and
Yeah.
like it happens, and just like her literally, like if I don't catch her, she's got a concussion kind of thing. And that's one that has been the most grueling in the practices. But as far as this version, I would say we practiced a lot on that, both the ending and then the moment that the choke out moment of, you know, that squat and then back. But yeah.
Can you rewind a sec?
I actually put a bookmark here on purpose.
Are you prepping that? It really doesn't look like it.
Which part?
Suddenly leaping into the air.
Yeah. Bad.
You become airborne so easily. Like we've noticed that in other dances of yours that we've gone through.
Oh yeah. That's all the high jump and long jump when I was in track and field as a kid. Because of course, you know, I don't have to maintain that just stays with my genetics. But one of the tricks that you actually see is like I prep a little bit, but I actually kick my feet back a little bit when I'm actually airborne, so it looks like there's more floor, but more air between me and the floor.
Aha. Very sneaky. I like it.
Yeah. So I do get height, but having the feet go high,
Yeah.
is also the trick.
This is really interesting. Balance.
Was it the catch, or once the hand goes over?
It's more the way that Chantelle ends up like leaning and tilting into it.
I would say my guess, if I had to take a stab at it, is that it's I have compression in the right arm basically. So she's leaning into that, and now I'm able to utilize that, so that way like I can push when I rotate towards her, push her back, so that way she has tension for then the next movement to actually happen.
Mhm.
And then we go through it. That would be my guess. But it looks like we just sort of let go of that connection, and she's able to use that lean as a counterbalance point for when she rotates her leg, like her hip.
Right.
It's like she's already almost like prepping so that way, because whenever
Mhm.
you have your leg behind you, you need to be actually leaning forward a little bit. And that's what she's doing, even though she's actually like pulling back. It's a weird thing.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, you can kind of see her move from that more diagonal ever so slightly back up over her foot
Yeah.
as she shifts it back. The leg.
Yeah, I helped a lot in that one. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is great framing through this part.
It's wonderful, and it still reads even in slow motion, which is not always the case.
Mhm.
Love it.
We actually just talked about that type of like arm grab, whatever you want to call it, for those spins.
Yeah, they're I think they're called dollies because if I'm not mistaken, Kyle and Sarah are the ones that kind of came up with it. And it was during like a routine that I think they did it to a Dolly Parton song, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
I don't know exactly, so don't quote me at all. But at least that's where I heard of the origin story was something like that.
Yeah, like a couple episodes ago, we were talking about like the connection that stays with the arm, but that there's also like a release.
Was that also an episode? Was that our One-Footed Spins episode
I think so.
where
Maybe.
we also talked about Chantelle? It's all coming together.
Yeah, those turns are so tricky. Are so tricky because they're like you're so tied up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're at a very vulnerable area, which is basically any joint. And you're effectively like rotating around that joint. And also too, is not to mention, is that the follower has to actually like rotate more up,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit back in the elbows, like in a vulnerable spot.
Yeah.
So kind of having this healthy balance between assisting with the like power of the rotation and also making sure that we don't get tangled up, so that way something doesn't tear.
Yeah.
Because like we're going, because like I think like we had it where it was like 2 spins, but then we're like, we can do 3. And we end up doing 3 spins, and it's like those 3 spins happen in like 2 counts, I think. Something like that, which is fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult, and it's like I said, it's riding that fine line of discomfort because it's not a comfortable turn to do.
No. So looking at your hand there, where are you, like what point are you trying to connect with your hand again?
So for this, I am mainly worrying about contacting with my wrist and my hand more or less just naturally cups. So like if you
Right.
more or less go to where, so like if I'm going through, my hand is now on actually a little too low. So then I fix that
Mhm.
and I sort of shove my wrist through, and then we continue through, and it's just contacted with the wrist. My hand then naturally kind of like goes over, but then as soon as it goes down, I'm back to where my hand's off again, and we're going back to wrist. So my main focus is really on having my wrist be connected with her arm throughout, versus having it where I'm really thinking of like I have to get a grip on that hand
Right.
to then, you know, assist in that like rotation over the head. I'm really, it's very similar to like the windmill turns where you're wrist to wrist and you like are doing this.
Mhm.
Done
Like,
that. Yep.
Yep.
like those. It's basically almost a close quarters version of that, and I'm really concentrating on the wrist, and the hand only ever really like fully connects when we're at this point and we're about to then redirect out of it.
Yeah. Side note, those windmill things, I kind of hate them,
Oh
but
man.
that's just because Parker and Melissa gave us like the fastest possible ones.
Because they know you could handle it.
Hi.
The quandary of an artist is like, oh, why do I like doing hard things?
Yeah, so that moment, actually, you don't have to go back for it, but when we smear the makeup, that was directly inspiration from Billy's music videos.
Sweet.
It's like when there's one music video where she actually had like ink being poured into her eyes, and then it ended up making it look like she was leaking ink out of her eyes. So more or less like kind of taking that concept of like, how can we sort of showcase or like more or less pay homage to the music videos and the visual styling that heavily inspired the characters and the angles and the piece. So that's sort of what spawned that moment.
Yeah, I think it was a really cool addition. Can we rewind a second?
Yep. The key moment happens. That's like more impressive in slow motion.
Yeah, I just what were you focusing on with this?
It's like, what were you aiming at? Moving target.
More or less, like my main focus is getting the leg through, because if I don't do that, then the move's botched. I'm really focusing on making sure that I have that left hand connected. The right hand at this point is just security. So I'm both simultaneously, like I'm using my peripheral vision to get behind and more or less in Chantelle's armpit, because for the next move, the weight, I need to make sure that I get actually below Chantelle's neck. I'm not actually on Chantelle's neck. That's like a very common mistake that a lot of leaders do.
Yes.
Whereas you actually don't put pressure on their neck. Like if you notice right here, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to put pressure where my thumb is and kind of that meat part of my hand. It's not towards the back portion. It's towards that bottom. And that's where like, that's still more or less across your back. It's not become neck yet. And I really wanted to make sure that Chantelle felt secure going down, and also made things more consistent is by utilizing that left hand there to sort of guide down and then catch. So that way it's a lot of moving pieces at once.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the reasoning behind all of them, is making sure that I don't like put too much stress on Chantelle's neck, or any stress for that matter. So that way she's able to, hold this position. And um, just like, if you want to test this at home, just to like sort of feel what I'm talking about, basically, if you have a couch, if you have a chair, put it to where your head is only resting on the chair, and then hinge up and have it where your body is completely flat and parallel with the floor, and then move it up a little bit and have it where just the top of your back and maybe a tiny bit of your shoulders is on the chair. You'll feel a heavy pressure difference, and a lot comfort difference between the two. But yeah, so in short, focusing on the leg and then on the hand after.
Those walks from Chantelle are fairly impressive.
So impressive.
Yeah. That's yep. Yes, they are. You can't say no. You can't say no. God, if I just had my feet together. It was an inch. Oh, who did my costumes? It's the same person that did Jordan and Tot's costumes for like their past few routines. Oh gosh, I'm terrible with names, so I'm really sorry. But that is the person. She designed them, and we were able to like choose from like the many designs that she had made, and we gave her kind of this, a few pictures of what we wanted, and she came up with this asymmetrical look that we really enjoyed. And yeah, I really enjoyed her. Like, if you're into routines, like, she lives in the UK, but like they came from the UK looking like that. Like, we didn't have to stone them, we didn't have to do anything. Like, that's how they came.
Wow.
They look like that. And like, she was super amazing, especially with the fact that she never saw us in person.
Right.
Wow.
We just gave her our measurements, and she was able to create a one piece, which is already difficult to begin with, that fits properly. Not to go into too much detail on that. But like, it's very difficult to do with a costume like that. And, being able to be open and flexible and shipping things back and forth and making sure that everything fit properly and looked okay was really awesome. So I highly recommend using her, and I'll use her in the future as well.
Would you like to talk about what's all happening here?
Oh, these awful spins. And by awful, I mean it's like, it went. Yeah. So the hardest part is on Chantelle. Like, me, think of it this way. Like, what's going on right now is I'm more or less security. All I'm doing is I'm helping power her around, but also I'm making sure that anytime that she is a little wobbly, I sort of correct it. And then once she gets all the way down, I have to make sure that she stays there. So I have to move all the way across and make sure that we don't pull her too far off balance. And then once this rotation happens, this is where the trust happens here, is when I actually let go of that hand to then go over. She's now completely on her own. I can't help her anymore.
Right.
Point that foot, Chris. But, and then this is just the complete trust of commitment of like, here's the ending. And we have to make sure that we, nail it.
Right.
And I then rip her heart out. And that's it.
Perfect ending.
But like originally we actually didn't have it where like I, choked, like basically had my hand on her throat and then like pulled back. It just kind of like ended up being like like hitting it on that ending. And then it ended up kind of having this like throat rip situation of like kind of like we just wanted it to be dramatic.
Yeah.
I mean, we're both wearing makeup and being crazy, so might as well commit, but that's the subtle details. Like she's got help from me through this entire thing. And then the key moment is like right before the move, she's on her own. So like if we didn't do either of our jobs there, this we'll both fall off balance and it won't be a solid ending. So
I wanted to point out the releasing of the hand as she's spinning down.
Oh yeah.
The broken wrist.
I think it's this like the hand breaking.
Yeah.
And sort of tapping around. I missed that one.
Broken wrist turns are hard enough, let alone changing the elevation of them as you go.
Yeah. Like coming from, Benji, and he really enjoys these turns and does them a lot. Like, I mean, if you look at him and Tori's routines, or like him and anyone's routines, he does these turns a lot. They're really fun to do. So like, honestly, like through this, my main focus is that right hand. Like, even though you're visually seeing that left hand, like, even though I miss that, like, I'm not even worried about it.
Right.
Like, I'm really like the main thing that is keeping Chantelle on balance is my right hand going all the way through. And the braked wrist is just that, like, that left hand, it only comes into effect when it's like really off balance. And also like once we actually finish the rotations and we're in that tension before we then reverse the direction and get into the ending, is its main focus is kind of just fluff and as like a backup security. At least that's been my focus on those for that.
I just wanted to make a quick note about Chantelle's foot sliding forward ever so slightly as she's kind of going into more being under her own power at the very end.
Okay.
Because we've talked about, a wider base having more stability to it, and her feet are so close together for the majority of this. Like right about here.
Yeah.
Right foot is sliding ever so slightly forward. Anyways, I just wanted to make that note.
Yeah. Still one of my favorite endings ever. So good.
So good, sweet Caroline.
Good. All right. Any questions from the peanut gallery for Chris?
And I have kind of like a more generic question, being like a swing newbie, and I've never been to the Open or anything.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of having prelims and then finals?
Zero.
Okay.
Zero purpose.
It didn't make any sense to me, and I just.
So I'll maybe take 5-10 minutes more to explain this. So they actually did this in juniors once. Like juniors was so big in young adult that they actually had a prelims and a finals. And the my understanding is so that way they can get 2 shows. And also too is it's a matter of, you have 27 couples. And here's the deal. You can judge that many people. If they say you can't, you're a bad judge, or you're making an excuse. So that way we have to do 2 rounds, because like that is how they rank us to get into the final, is they judge all of us based on relative placement. So why do we have to do it twice?
Well, that was what spurred the question, because I saw that I was like, well, if you're not just going to have it be like a yes, no into a final, I don't understand why. If you ranked everybody first, why do you need to?
Exactly.
Again, I was just a little confused.
So to answer your question, like it's like they know that people aren't going to sit around for a 3-hour show, and they really want that the spectacle. I mean, hear me out. Like I get it. I understand. Like you want that, like it's Saturday night at the US Open, or it's Saturday night anywhere. But it's like the actual purpose competitively is there's zero purpose for it. There is absolutely none. Like, they judged Rising Star, when it was, the controversy. Which I have been told that one of the advice one of the judges gave was to have them look at Victoria and I's parody video on how routines are made to understand how to do the routines better. I've heard that from multiple sources. That's just, yeah, but like it was so large that people were like, what the heck? Like, why is it so big? Blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you going to do? Like, if Classic has a prelim, why don't we have a prelim kind of situation? It was that year that it happened. And like, the honest truth is like, you really don't need a prelim competitively or competition wise. You really don't. Because like you said, like you brought up, like, if the judging is the same, why do we have to do it again? And that is what it is. And also too is before people would do their old routine in prelims and their new routine in finals. And this year, I'm sorry, the most recent year of the Open, no one did that. I think one person did that, or one couple. Like everyone's sort of just like, no, I'm not doing 2 routines at Open level.
Yeah.
There's just no. Like it's already ridiculous that we have to dance twice in the same day. At that level. And what I usually do is I do prelims. I then go shower, and then I go DJ the juniors pizza party. I find out if I made finals or not. And then if I did, then I go and get ready again. Like
extra work.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of extra work. So in the long answer, there's really no reason.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It was great.
This has been amazing.
Oh, it was awesome. I was really, really happy and so excited to join. Like this is so much fun. I really enjoyed like connecting with faces that I usually get to connect with in person, and some new faces as well. Oh, wait.
Ask it. Go ahead,
There's a
Kate.
question. Yes, go for it. I was just being gushy and loving. Can you do Emperor's New Groove? Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, I started something.
Well, the thing is like what wasn't in the script is I can actually do the squirrel from Emperor's New Groove.
Oh
It's like,
man.
squeaker, squeaker. Hang on.
That's
like,
amazing.
like I grew up with, my mom and dad doing voices, and like they were in like voice classes and that sort of thing. So like I grew up like doing all kinds of things of like doing that and like doing Stitch of like Lilo, like like it's just like everything
good.
under the sun. So yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know you could also do the squirrel. If I had known, I
Ah,
would have found a
Next,
way.
yeah.
Next time,
Next time, Kronk's new
Yeah.
groove.
Kronk's new.
Yeah.
When the world's not on fire.
Yes.
Yeah, that.
Sometimes literally.
More often than we would like.
True.
if there are no other questions, thank you guys for joining us. And once again, thank you to Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yay. So glad. When you said you were going to binge watch the episodes we had done on you, Alicia and I were both like, Ovi likes them. Ovi likes them.
Actually, I think my reaction was, I hope I didn't say anything.
You're like, I think we're usually good about saying all good things.
Oh, no.
I don't-
You,
We were just suddenly very anxious for some reason.
I think my biggest takeaway from that is like you actually viewed me as threatening. And that to me is just like what?
I am intimidated by all humans. So
Fair.
yeah.
Humans are scary. Humans,
Humans
are very
are
scary.
terrifying.
Yeah. But I absolutely enjoyed it, and if there ever is a time where I can come back, I would love to make that happen.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So I know if you want to get other people, but I can always come back. as
You're
well.
always welcome to just randomly crash an episode if you want. If you're just feeling bored on a Thursday night, just like
Feel free to
Sounds
join.
good.
just
Sounds good.
saunter up to the bar. Just troll us. Like, just have your
Absolutely.
video off and just troll us with voices. Like sign on from a different account.
Yeah, I'll just put my name in as something else.
He's got to be the squirrel for like a whole episode.
Yeah.
That'd be
Well,
good.
anyways, I appreciate you all sticking around, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Good night.
So much better.
Just channel your inner Wayne and Garth. That's it. Bye all.
Which, forewarning, a few weeks ago, my audio just like shut off during the
That was great. I was speaking
Oh.
to the void. It was wonderful.
Oh my gosh. There was one time where I was recording for my Patreon and I did a very long episode and the mic was muted.
No.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Like an hour and a half went by and I had to redo the entire thing. The recording, everything. Had to do it all over.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
It
that's
took
what I'm
me-
always afraid. I'm
Yeah,
always
it took
afraid
me
I won't
3 more
record.
takes.
Also, Alicia, did you see we're only one person away from 200 YouTube subscribers?
Hey,
Just one.
I think you guys have more than me. It's true. I think I have like 150. And I'm going strong.
Woo!
No.
Yeah. Never expected this to be so popular.
Yeah, no, we were just like bored and we like teaching together and Yeah. So
I found that usually the simplest things and just kind of like, we're chilling, like end up being like really successful.
Yep.
Seem to be so far. We're enjoying this last time, like as everyone else was logging on, so we didn't have a chance to like prep her for anything. So we went to frame through, and she, I think, was like, "Oh, we're actually framing through it."
Actually, she was slightly horrified. It was adorable. It was great.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. I mean, I basically do not as in depth as you guys, but I do something similar. Like I call it my dance journey series. So I've taken like at home videos of me, like, an intermediate, and like breaking down my dance from back then and like all that stuff. And I have finally worked my way 13 episodes later to now I'm in my first dance in Champs ever, and no one's ever seen it because it's not on YouTube.
I think I was there in person. It was 2012 City of Angels. Was that it?
That was actually my second one.
That was your second one. Shit.
That's my second one. That was with DeLuca.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had the luckiest run of anyone ever that I could think of as far as my draws. First person, Sarah. Second, DeLuca. Third, Brandy.
Well,
Fourth, Tori. I'm like, fifth, Jessica. I'm like, can I catch a break? I don't know if I can.
All of these made follows.
Can't do it. Can't do it. And here I am, this like 18-year-old kid that doesn't know how to wear shirts right, trying to triple step with the basic follows.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, it's like I think like, I'm so like in school and like dealing with adult shit that I hear about dance things and I'm like,
yeah,
what? Yeah. It's like when Ben got surgery. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I had no idea he had another surgery until I started seeing the PT videos. I'm like,
I'm like, that makes sense. I get it. Like you gotta deal with the stuff because I watched his like follow-up, like telling everyone what's up video, and I was like, Cool.
It's a good lull to get surgeries out of the way.
Yeah. What do you think I'm doing with school? I'm doing more than double the classes that I would have taken.
Crap.
Because of
Just
COVID.
because you suddenly have the time.
Yeah.
Suddenly everyone has a lot of time.
Amazing.
Yeah. Not any more money, less money, but more time.
Fair.
Super positive situation, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just you wait until I get my tiny pen. I tend to poke myself in the face with that all the time. But what I like about it is I can ghost frames over. So like if I draw something on a previous frame, you can see a ghost image of it on the current one. So you can like really show the arc of things instead of just having a static drawing on one frame. Don't use that too terribly often, but when I do, it's quite handy.
Yeah. There's been a couple times that you've used it and it's worked out beautifully.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's more like, does everybody have the patience for Cassie to do this? That's usually what the question is.
Oh, man.
So I'm just not going to fit in. It's fine.
Just wear like 6-inch stilettos. It's fine.
Yeah. Just go back to the 90s when West Coast was basically hustle.
True story.
It's like, all right, let's see how tight this dress is. And also let's dance at 180 beats per minute.
Oh God. Back in my baby Westy days, I assisted Chris Jones locally in a few of his basic hustle classes, and following him in hustle, because he knows how to take advantage of my leg length, and I'm like, oh God, why? Same with his country two-step. I'm like, I don't want to travel that fast. Thanks.
Mhm.
Is that more tiring, or is dancing with somebody short that doesn't adjust to you more tiring? That's my question to you.
That's a tough one. I'd say dancing with a short one who doesn't know how to adjust to me is more emotionally exhausting, but it's also physically exhausting. But like, I'm not used to having to engage all of the muscles all the way up my legs to just walk. Because usually I use like 5% of it and I'm faster than most people. That's what I'm used to. But dancing dancing with Chris Jones is like, no, you shall use it all the
Yes.
time.
Mhm.
Thou shalt pass out.
Particular story just reminds me of when I was in San Fran. I was dancing with Tim Kenny, and he sent me out so aggressively that my like back leg, I like stuck it out really far to like break, and my whole leg was just like nope, too much.
Oh my gosh.
Also, I get thrown around quite a lot. However, that was probably the worst.
Yeah. Have you ever have you ever had the like the light versus heavy, right? Have you ever had the realization like how I had, which was like I'm like, yeah, I'm a pretty strong leader. And then have people come up to me and be like, you're the lightest person I've ever danced with. And I'm like, how the fuck do you need more than that? Like, what? Have you ever had that?
Oh, all the fucking time. It's funny because like they say I'm really light. I'm like, well, that's because you're really light. And if I were to use more energy, you would end up
Die.
2 centimeters thin. So yeah.
Like half the time I can't even do leveraged things, or else my lead just moves towards me.
Oh geez.
I call those the creepers. Because it's like this. It's like
True story.
it's like you can't anchor. Not today. Like that's it.
Yup. This is gonna be so much fun.
Yep.
I'm so excited.
I feel like every single week I'm like, there's a lot of people that just want to come and listen to us talk for like an hour.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh man, we did an episode last week on lateral versus linear connection.
Mhm.
And the whole time we were both really brain dead. So we were like, okay, make sure we're saying the correct word at the correct time. Why do they both start with L's? Why? And then at the end of the episode, we were doing so good. But then at the end, I combined them into lineal.
Lineal. That's
Well.
diagonal connection. That's a new one.
Oh.
New one.
Oh, it's so good.
I mean, at least you weren't calling Kyle Parker and vice versa.
Oh man. For our Patreon, we analyzed like a video of Kyle and Sarah and then a video of Parker and Melissa. And I was so out of it. Like I was talking about the dance just fine, but I kept calling Parker Kyle and Melissa Sarah. And I couldn't stop. And I'm like, I've known these people for well over a decade. This shouldn't be a problem.
Oh my god. Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, if you don't know, Alicia and I both have like actually the same invisible disabilities, but which is ironic. We're oddly similar, but like it tends to affect my brain fog a lot, especially now that we've been working along more often. But yeah, my brain likes to transpose words inappropriately. It's gloriously embarrassing.
Mm. Yeah. I understand the pain as far as when it comes to ADD at the very least. At the very least. The
Yeah.
very lest. That's a
Lest.
new word.
Mm,
We're making up words here tonight.
That'll
That's
be
Yeah.
good.
gonna happen.
ADD and dyslexia really mix well. It's good.
That's a good combo right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it took me one time, I think it was like a few days ago. It took me 10 minutes to write the word door.
Mm.
I kept like typing it. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how hard is it?
Reminds me of a story. So this happened a really long time ago, but like my brain fog and everything used to be way worse. But there was this one time that it was particularly awful. And I was talking to someone and I started saying the word backwards. I stopped in the middle of it because I realized it. And I tried to continue like talking and then I finished the word backwards.
That's impressive. What word was it? Do you remember?
Really have no idea. It was really unimportant.
Oh man.
Oh man. I remember in high school, I was the only one in my friend group taking French, whereas everyone else was taking Spanish. And one day my brain decided to combine quoi with what into quat. I still love it. I still use it.
All right, now I'm just thinking, Sphincter say, what? I just see Wayne like just like pulling up, just like Sphincter say, what?
Oh man.
Oh man.
Oh man.
God. Are you able to give her power?
I think. Let's
Mhm.
see. I don't know if it's
More power. Dude, that reminds me of I had for fall semester, I am taking nutrition and literally on the Zoom call, the teacher was drinking a glass of wine and I was like, hey, what's up? This is what's gonna happen. I've got some PDFs. All you got to do is take a quiz every week and you Gucci. Also, it's open book. And so if you fail, then that's on you. All right, peace. Have a good semester. like basically that was it. I haven't heard from them at all this entire semester. It was just that they were like, all right, here, it's in the modules each week. Just, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
How are you doing in the class?
I'm getting an A. That's it. It's 15 question quizzes. That's it. I literally look at the PDFs of the slideshows that they've been doing. And that's it. We'll go through it. I take screenshots of the ones that I think are important that are like, oh, is the percentage of protein this between this and this? And I'm like, okay, I think I could do that. And so I just take a screenshot of that and I go through and like, that's my notes. It's just the actual slides. And yeah.
yeah.
I
When
feel like
your
screenshots are underrated.
family wants to do as little work as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pescatarian, heavy on the tarian. And so like I just eat green shit, all right? Like I get it. I mean, you're saying that we should have dairy, and I think that's an interesting stance.
Just get the point, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm like, I'll say what you want me to say. Let's go.
Wouldn't being on the Tarian side mean you eat people?
I guess I don't even know
Because
what
you're,
tarian means.
I'm pretty sure it's like person.
Oh yeah,
like-
veggie person. Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Yeah. So
I have no idea what I walked into.
Pre-party.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Like, actually, it's after 7. I just noticed
I know
that.
we should get started. This is very
Sorry.
fascinating.
Yeah, I was getting carried
Wasn't paying
away.
attention to the time, so that's probably me. Matt.
I'm
Thank
still
you.
so sad. When you debuted it at Swingtacular, I was there, but I had a horrible migraine, so I was like stuck up in my hotel room. And then the next day, everybody was just like going bonkers about your routine. I was like, I missed it.
Yeah, I didn't see it there either. But Chris came back up and said something to the effect of like they turned Chantelle into a monster.
Chris on. That's the Chris that she was referring to.